I'm Ashton Addison from the Crypto Coin Show, and today on Blockchain Interviews with Phillip Alexeev, Chief Growth Officer from CrossFi. Phillip, welcome to the show, and thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me, Ashton. Really looking forward to our conversation. Definitely very excited to chat.
Likewise, we're in an amazing time of growth in the crypto industry, and 2025, it's going to be hard to beat the growth of 2024, but I believe it's possible, and there's a lot of interest in developing blockchain ecosystems right now. I know your team at CrossFi has been working on something special, and I'd love to dive into it today. If we could start out our conversation with a little bit on what you and your team have been working on at CrossFi, how that relates to the growth of Web3, then we can dive into all the details.
Absolutely. So in its essence, basically what we've managed to build is a full-fledged Web3 ecosystem that kind of bridges the gap between Web3 and traditional finance. There's a bunch of different components. So CrossFi, first and foremost, is founded on our own proprietary layer one blockchain. It's a modular blockchain built with EVM and Cosmos as kind of the back end. So really, helping make sure that it's as developer friendly and sort of flexible as possible for all of the, potential use cases. Then on top of that blockchain, what we're really building, and I would say kind of our flagship product, aside from, the suite of pretty innovative DeFi tools, we're definitely doing some stuff that we'll talk about later that is really pushing the boundaries and is really on the cutting edge of what is possible in the world of DeFi, which definitely excited to dive into. But aside from that, I think what we are really focused on delivering to the market that I think is going to be one of the most impactful innovations for both the native crypto user market as well as the retail market is effectively an alternative to traditional banking. So we have built something that allows users to non-custodially connect any Web3 wallet to the CrossFi app, allowing you to spend tokens out of your wallet through one of our physical or virtual cards at any point of sale terminal in the entire world. And I think one of the coolest things about what we've built is that not only is it truly non-custodial, so there are no third parties, we do not have control of your tokens, your keys, your coins, which I think is really, really important. And I think we've learned a lot of valuable lessons around that over the last few years, as we've seen with some pitfalls in exchanges and, some other potential vulnerabilities. But I think the other thing is that all of the payments are truly processed on chain, and we work directly with large banking partners to ensure that we are pushing them to innovate. We are pushing them to embrace Web3 technology and directly interact with smart contracts such that this is truly kind of innovating and changing the world of Web3 payments as we know it, and then bringing both native crypto users who are holding crypto, who want to use it in the real world, who want to be able to leverage this to actually pay for their, daily lives, for goods and services, for anything out in the real world, as well as, and I think the thing that I'm most passionate about, as well as helping bank the unbanked, right? There are 60% of the world's population is currently unbanked, which is crazy. People like you and I, we have credit cards, we have debit cards, we have bank accounts. These are things that we take for granted that we don't even think about on a daily basis. We just go out, we spend our money, we live our lives. 60% of the world's population does not have that luxury. And so what we're doing through the help of crypto and through this bridge that we've built into traditional finance, we are helping those folks get onboarded into the global economy and to actually be able to participate not only in the things that you and I sort of take for granted on a daily basis, but also have access to potential investment vehicles, potential yield generation mechanisms, things that they would never have dreamed of because they don't have access to this world of traditional finance. So lots of very, very exciting things. And yeah, I'm pretty happy to dive deeper into anything in particular.
Yeah, it's a wonderful intro, Phillip, and there is a lot to cover there. Later on, I would love to touch a little bit more on the underlying CrossFi blockchain that you're talking about. But I think the most important topic there is the CrossFi app in getting traditional finance, connecting that into Web3. How can we actually spend our crypto? And then also on the CrossFi X, the DeFi part, which I think is important and it's going to be growing. But first of all, being able to spend your crypto in anywhere. I think that's important because I've seen many projects over the years try and develop a debit card or something, but there's so many restrictions in different countries or different terminals or different currencies and cryptocurrencies that you want to spend. So can you talk a little bit on how you've sort of streamlined that and make it as easy as possible for people that have crypto to spend it, and for people that they're banked in traditional banking, I mean, they want to get crypto and then they want to spend it?
Absolutely. So I guess we can start with sort of the crypto native audience, folks that are currently holding crypto. Over the years, there have been a lot of projects that have really tried to figure out a way to solve for what I call the what's next phenomenon, right? So somebody came into crypto, they've sort of on-ramped, right? They've purchased crypto tokens, they may have traded, they may have generated some yield, they may have made some profit. And I think the question that I get probably the most, aside from where do I buy my first Bitcoin and what do I do with it, is what's next, right? So I made some profits, I've done some things. What's next? Is it going to an exchange and selling these tokens and having to go through the middleman and paying the fees and paying the taxes? Is it holding on to them infinitely and hoping that sort of the world develops into, kind of being able to accept and embrace this technology and it's available for me in my daily life? Well, I think, rather than sort of going the middleman route or waiting for the world to change and adapt, we have built something that, in today's day and age, I think is extremely critical for this crypto native population. And the way that we've managed to do it, which I think is super radically different from some of the other solutions that I've seen, is basically working directly with the banks. We have been building this technology and working on, first of all, the underlying tech stack and sort of the foundational, the foundational technology for 5 years. But in the back end, we've also been doing a ton of business development work. We've been doing, everything from working with the world's largest banks to make sure that they care and they're even interested to integrate a crypto native technology. We've been working with security firms to make sure that not only are we compliant with all of the latest and greatest security standards of the world of Web3, but that we're also compliant with the security standards, the very, very stringent security standards that banks have implemented in order to make sure that their users are safe, to the point where we even recently managed to get our PCI DSS certification, which, if you know anything about payment security, that is one of the sort of most hardcore security certifications that you can get in the world of payments. And even though it wasn't necessarily a prerequisite, so to speak, for us being able to launch this technology, we really want to make sure that both the partners that we work with on the banking side, on the TradFi side, as well as the users that are onboarding into our technology, we really want to make sure that they're confident in the fact that we are going to protect their funds, we are going to protect and secure them the same way that, their bank would. And this is for folks that are kind of familiar with banking infrastructure. So we really are making sure that we're building not only to parity, but also beyond. And so I think, again, one of the biggest roadblocks that we've faced in this journey is really making sure that our banking partners that we are in really close collaboration with now is getting their attention, is getting their interest, is really getting them to understand and embrace why this is important for them to adapt to, and why this is something that they really need to focus on, because if they don't, then they truly will get left behind. And so again, as with building the technology, which for any product, for any service is extremely important, you need to have a functional product. You need to have something out in the market that is actually working, that is delivering value. There's also so much business development work that has happened in the background to ensure that, these collaborations were possible and that we were able to bring this to market. And to your point about, there's things that have geo restrictions, there are things that are custodial, there are things that kind of function but might work through a middleman. So it's not quite, there are more points of failure. What we've managed to do is we've managed to find banking partners that not only cover large swaths of geographies to ensure that we're sort of, compliant in every single geography that we work in. But we also work with multiple partners, so we diversify our partnerships such that we don't have one singular point of failure. We don't really have one cutoff or choke point, and that we always are able to provide a channel to indeed bridge that kind of Web3 and traditional finance gap. So yeah, that's what makes the product really exciting for me. And I think anybody that I talk to that sort of holds crypto, that, is a crypto native, I constantly get asked, how do I get my hands on this thing? Like, I need this today. So yeah, it's been really cool.
That's great that there's obviously a demand for it. I think it's just working out the details and lowering the frictions in making it happen quickly. And if you could walk me through that a little bit in an example, say I have a mobile wallet on my phone, I want to go to a coffee shop or a shopping center. How many things need to be done for me to be able to spend that and the merchant can receive it in the currency that they want?
So the process for the end user is actually very simple. On the back end, obviously it's a little bit more complicated than I can explain in a 20-minute chat, but on the front end for the user, the process is actually as straightforward as you connect your mobile wallet to the CrossFi app. You hold a certain amount of tokens. So you're basically letting CrossFi know that you can only access this amount of tokens from my mobile wallet. Everything else, do not touch. That is not yours. And so you are only kind of allowing permission for a certain, portion of the tokens you hold in your wallet. Then basically it's as simple as you open the CrossFi app. You can either generate a virtual card, which then is compatible with Apple Wallet, and you can pay at any point of sale that allows you to basically tap your phone and kind of, process a transaction. Or you can order a physical card, which is actually coming later this year, that allow you to use chip technology, tap technology, swipe technology, which I think is also important for compatibility. The entire world isn't quite onboarded into this, mobile payment sphere. And so we want to make sure that we're allowing as much cross compatibility with point of sale terminals as possible. And so basically you connect your wallet, you hold the tokens, you, let's say, generate a virtual card, which then goes into your Apple Wallet. And then you literally process transactions the same way you would with any credit card, any debit card. The transactions go through safely, securely, quickly, at the same speed, if not a little bit faster than a traditional card transaction goes through. And I think that's really where the magic happens. That's the aha moment for users when they go from, their MetaMask or their Brave wallet or their Trust wallet, whatever it might be, to truly swiping a card at a store and seeing the tokens come out of their wallet and seeing them get spent. So obviously there's a, relatively complex conversion mechanism that happens on the back end that allows us to leverage both the tokens that the users have, as well as our own native token XFi, and then all convert that through our banking partners into fiat, into the local currency where the transaction is getting processed, all happening with a completely flat transaction fee. So I think that's another huge differentiator, is that we're not doing this dynamic, flexible transaction fee. We are guaranteeing our users a relatively cheap, safe, effective, quick, and scalable transaction, the same experience that you would have from a bank card, from a credit card, but from your crypto wallet. So I think that's really what's amazing about this technology. That's why I'm so bullish on CrossFi and what we're building, just in the flagship side. And then if you dive into the DeFi side, there's just this whole crazy slew of things that we're working on that I think I'm also extremely excited about, because it's some of the most innovative stuff that I've personally seen in the world of DeFi.
Yeah, no, it is very exciting, and it sounds really easy once you are porting into Apple Pay and just doing your digital wallet. It's exactly what people would be used to. And, obviously there's a demand for this all around the world. Anybody that has crypto in the world could use this. And you mentioned in the beginning, the unbanked, 60% of the world that's unbanked, obviously they need some kind of solution. But also there's demand in North America, where it is already the traditional financial capital of the world. They want to use crypto as well. And with that physical card coming in, that sounds like just an extra touch and ease of use. Is there a go-to-market area that you're focusing on first, in that, I'm guessing there's going to be more transactions from people that are already native crypto holders. Is there a specific geography that makes sense to target this before it has natural adoption worldwide?
The way that we think about our user base and the target segments and the people that we're actually looking to serve, we think about it as concentric circles. And so for every circle, starting with the middle, and then for every circle that expands outward from that, you can imagine that there's more of a lift, that there's more education that needs to happen. There's a higher barrier to entry. And so the first circle that's directly in the middle, so our primary audience as it stands today, are basically people who are crypto natives, who are degens, who use the technology, who have basically understood everything that there is to know about crypto. We don't need to educate them on why crypto is important. We don't need to, explain to them why this product would be useful for them. They see it, they know right away, and they sort of are just, ready to embrace it and ready to start using it. And so that is kind of our first and foremost primary audience. And then outside of that are folks that, may hold some crypto, that may be in the industry, that might have, be holding some tokens on an exchange or maybe in their own wallet, but they're not quite ready for that what's next phenomenon. They're not quite exposed to all of the potential in the world of crypto. They're not quite, primed to necessarily effortlessly embrace a product like this. So there's a little bit more of a lift. There's a little bit more education that needs to happen. And you can see how it's starting to expand outwards. Then outside of that is really that retail market, are the folks that might not even necessarily have crypto, are thinking about getting into crypto, but are worried about it because they're not really sure what they're going to do with it. They're not really sure kind of how that's going to benefit them, aside from, what they see in the media of potentially generating profits or potentially losing everything you have. And so, the more we work outside of these concentric circles, the more lift and the more effort that's required from us to actually onboard those users. And so we're kind of working our go-to-market strategy to really coincide with that concentric circle user targeting, target demographic, and to basically build layers to how we're going to market with our technology. And that's on the payment side. Obviously, on the DeFi side, it really is targeting, again, those crypto natives, those degens, people that kind of see the technology and they understand like, wow, this is really going to help me generate yield. There's a lot of potential on the CrossFi blockchain. There's so much I can do here to, take my existing tokens, or by buying XFi token, which is CrossFi's native token, and by leveraging the tools that we've built to generate profits and generate yield. And so that's kind of how we're thinking about our go-to-market. And thus far, it's been really successful, because I think not only are we seeing really good traction, like I said, every single person that I talk to that is in crypto, that is crypto native, they hear about this technology and they're like, dude, how can I get my hands on this? This is insane. This is going to completely change the game for me. And even people who, again, might be holding some tokens and kind of like, they bought some crypto, but they don't really play around with it as much as somebody who's in the industry, who's in it on a daily basis. Even they're like, wow, I can really see that could be useful for me. And I'm really excited for getting my hands on it when the product launches.
Yeah, I definitely have met many people in that inner circle section that are actively looking for a better solution to be able to spend their crypto. So that makes sense as the target market. And with the physical card that you mentioned coming in the near future, I feel like that could just be one of the things that gets people over the hump of those people who don't have crypto and they're used to having cash or the credit card in their hand. And they may not even use Apple Pay or their digital wallets. Having that physical card, that's all it takes for them to click and understand that it's just another currency that they're paying with. And the fact that they're holding a card in their hand is what gets them over the hill to get into crypto.
Absolutely. I think it's really important to build technology, especially in an emerging industry, that has some level of familiarity to folks, that kind of can connect with something and anchor into something that they're already familiar with. And I think you and I, being in the world of crypto, we're so familiar with why crypto is better than fiat There are so many things that crypto enables us to do more securely, more effectively, more efficiently than regular standard fiat transactions. And I think in order to onboard folks into those benefits and really help them realize that, we need to create some sort of system that feels familiar to them, that gives them the confidence, that helps them understand that, wow, this is actually relatively similar to something that I'm used to using, but in reality is significantly better. And that's on a retail level as well as an institutional level. And I think as we start to see these technologies kind of embrace making the learning curve easier, embrace building for familiarity, embrace giving users confidence, we are going to really start to see a lot more adoption. And then once the adoption happens, and once both the retail market and the institutional market realize how much more effective crypto is than fiat transactions, I think that is when the global revolution really comes into play. And that is how we create mass adoption, which is what I think we're all trying to do.
When you mentioned about the effectiveness, I think some people, they're looking for that what's next, and they see DeFi, and then it's pretty easy for them to put two and two together that, okay, even if I have a stable coin in crypto and I'm using DeFi, I can get a yield on that versus the yield I'm getting in a bank. It's significantly higher. And that's their what's next, is like, hey, I have my savings, but it's just in stable coins and I'm getting a yield on that. And there's many other functionalities of DeFi that are possible as well that gets them down the rabbit hole. And I'm curious on the CrossFi X, the DeFi part, what are the main financial products that you think will help drive adoption in the app and in DeFi for people that are not yet in crypto?
So on the DeFi portion, and this is something I'm always super excited to talk about with crypto natives, we've actually built a suite of several products that I think are pretty interesting, both in terms of being at parity with some of the DeFi features that you would expect out of any thriving blockchain, but also some stuff that is really pushing the boundaries and really on the cutting edge of what's possible. So, as you mentioned, we have XApp, which I'll dive into in a second, but then we have three other products that I think are really game changers. We have X Assets, we have X Swap, and then we also have X Stake. So XApp is kind of your Swiss Army knife of DeFi. It lets you swap, bridge assets, acquire tokens, add liquidity, join a staking program for CrossFi chain rewards. It, basically gives you parity with any other thriving blockchain ecosystem and allows you to use these tools on the CrossFi blockchain with CrossFi native tokens as well as other popular tokens. But aside from that, I think, again, diving into some of these products, of course, in a nutshell, because, I can talk about this stuff for hours and we can kind of unpack what's really revolutionary about it. But X Assets, it allows you to mint, trade, and swap synthetic tokens representing real world assets such as commodities, stocks, currencies. So it's really kind of our RWA play, which I think, again, we're taking not only allowing crypto degens to participate in RWA on the CrossFi blockchain, but we're also allowing the unbanked population of the world to get access to commodities, stocks, alternative currencies. Like, this is really bridging a huge gap. So I think that's pretty exciting. We also have XSwap, which is pretty straightforward. You convert our stablecoin Cross USD to any synthetic asset. It's permissionless, it's decentralized. And then, of course, an Oracle provides a data feed with prices of stocks and commodities, so you can kind of monitor that and generate yield that way. And then what I think is probably what I'm most excited about in our DeFi tool suite, and I think the thing that is really going to be a huge game changer that I really haven't seen done well, and I think is going to blow the market up in a good way, is Xstake, which is something that we've built in-house. It is a cross-chain dynamic yield aggregator that optimizes your returns on your staked assets by leveraging a slew of DeFi protocols, across multiple blockchain networks, right? So we're creating this interoperability, we're creating this automated dynamic system that is really optimizing all of your staked assets to get you the most yield possible without you ever having to think about what's going on in the back end. So it's generating those strategies, it's pulling that data, it is literally optimizing itself to help you generate as much yield as humanly possible. And it's basically completely automated and hands off. And so if I think about what's the best way to onboard, people that are just getting into crypto or even people that aren't in crypto, what's the best way to onboard them into DeFi? Tell them that they can use this product without having to think or worry too much, that in the back end is basically doing the job of a financial manager that is on a daily basis optimizing their trading strategy and their staking strategies such that they're getting the highest possible yield on the best possible blockchain using the best possible protocols. And so I think stuff like that is what really gets me excited about the DeFi component of what we're building at CrossFi. And I think it's going to be a major game changer, not only for that crypto native audience, but also for people that are just getting into crypto. And then especially for that unbanked population who not only never had access to these types of tools, but also doesn't necessarily, and by no fault of their own, doesn't have the financial literacy to start understanding, what all the opportunities and possibilities are. So it really helps people avoid that learning curve, avoid those painful and potentially costly mistakes, and to really start bettering their lives through the technology that we've built.
Yeah, I appreciate that explanation on all those DeFi functionalities. It gets overwhelming for people that usually there's something that they resonate with. And I feel like that traditional commodities and equities access for unbanked or anybody that's outside of America is huge. That's been a major barrier to entry, and having tokenized versions of traditional equities that people can trade on is like something that people are constantly searching for once that realize that getting into finance is a way to get yourself ahead. But then there's that border that they just can't cross, or that ocean that they can't cross. So that's really cool. And on the X stake side and the automation management, when I first saw DeFi when it really started taking off in DeFi summer, that was one of the major breakthroughs, was like Yearn Finance, which allowed you to find the best yield, and rather than being in the bank and them just saying this is the yield, and and then you have to do research and move assets and move banks just to get a few extra percent. Having something that's automated and can change daily or even faster to the best yield based on the current situation, I feel like is an extra touch for people that are like trying to get the best yield without having to do so much research. AI and automation is really just enabling that so much easier now.
Absolutely. And like you mentioned, the AI portion and the effectiveness and sort of the efficiency of this. Not only is it important to build technology that makes people's lives easier on the back end and really provides them with a ton of value and provides them with the ability to, really participate in something that they may not have the most familiarity with and that they may not feel the most confident in, to build that confidence with them. But unlike, some of the existing technologies, we can learn from the mistakes that they've made. We can learn from the pain points that they've provided to their users. We can learn from feedback. We can learn through these iteration cycles, and not only build this technology and improve upon the technology in the back end of it, but we can also build the best possible user experience, the best possible user interfaces, make it as easy and clean and sexy as possible to really help the adoption and to help people embrace this technology. So I think that's the advantage that we're coming in with as well, is building upon the years and years of learning that we've managed to collect through DeFi summer, through the bear market, and now coming into this bull run.
Definitely. And you've hinted at one of the future milestones being the physical card. I'm curious what else is up CrossFi's sleeve for 2025 and the roadmap of expanding more customers, more products. What else can you tell for what's next for you guys?
So 2025 is really the year of go-to-market for us. Like I said, we've spent the last 5 years building this, extremely complex, extremely iterative, just very heavy lift technology. And we've been so heads down focused building through the bear market that 2025 is really the year that we put all of these things into users' hands. And so our roadmap is just jam-packed full of launches. Not only are we launching, X stake, X swap, X assets, the flagship payment technology, all of that stuff is coming to market in Q1 2025, which is amazing, right? But also just, basically means we're not going to be sleeping very much in the next few months. But on top of that, we have been working in the background to create some of the most amazing partnerships that I've personally seen. We're starting to see this happening just in the last week. I mean, we're seeing some wild partnerships of IRL technologies integrating Web3 and really sort of pushing the mass adoption curve closer and closer to what we as industry insiders are looking at as, wow, we are really starting to penetrate society more than just through the media. And so on CrossFi's end, we're working on much the same type of partnerships, very impactful global companies that are working with us to put our technologies into the hands of tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of users. And so those are going to start getting announced probably end of Q1 2025, if not Q2 2025. And then, of course, throughout the rest of the year, I mean, we've got a lot of stuff that we've been working on, that we've been building, not only stuff that's, concrete and solidified, but also, a lot of the research and development that we've been doing, sort of the CrossFi labs, so to speak. I mean, wow, dude, there's some crazy stuff that I think is coming into the hopper. And so basically 2025 is the year of CrossFi's go to market, is the year that CrossFi puts this technology into the hands of users. And really, I think you will see this happen throughout the next few months, becomes a global leader in the industry in regards to both bridging the gap between traditional finance and Web3, as well as a global leader in innovation in the DeFi space, and, sort of making that all a reality.
Wow, that's a lot that is under your guys' plate, Philip, and I'm looking forward to seeing those rollouts. I would love to have you back on the show to cover more of that, because there's just so much to jump into in 5 years of work to cover in 30 minutes. It's a lot. For those that are interested in like testing out what there is now and then following along for those updates as the new functionality comes out, what's the best way to get started on that?
So I always tell people, I can give a wide variety of links, but I always tell people start with our website. There's just so much noise out there and so many potential pitfalls and scams. Go to our website, crossfi.org, CROSSFI.org. All of our community channels, all of our social channels, basically anywhere that you choose to consume your information is all linked from there. I would say the best thing that anybody can do is just dive right in, right? Get into our community, get into our Discord, sign up for our Telegram, follow us on our socials, follow some of the folks working for CrossFi on their socials, connect with us, talk to us, ask questions, explore the product, go through all of the amazing content that we've put out. And obviously it'll help you stay up to date with all of the latest and greatest, potentially get early beta access to some of the tools that we'll be launching, and really join the community and the ecosystem in a meaningful way, such that you are kind of up to date on everything that is coming out as soon as it comes out, even before it comes out.
Wishing you and your team all the best, Philip. Thank you for taking the time to explain CrossFi and bridging Web3 into traditional finance. All the best with the updates moving forward with your team. I will leave a link to the CrossFi site, as you mentioned, in the show notes below as well. And I would love to have you guys back on in the near future to discuss the next steps and the growth of crypto into the mainstream.
Absolutely. It's one of my favorite things, is just reconnecting with folks a few months, maybe even a year down the line, and just looking back and seeing it all of the amazing things that we've managed to accomplish. And thank you so much again for having me on. It was an awesome chat. Thank you for everybody that's tuning in and listening and watching and sharing, commenting, liking, so on and so forth. And yeah, really excited for the future and really excited to reconnect in a bit and see what we've managed to do.